Okay, so if you haven't watched the video yet, make sure you pause this one and go back to that video, what is algebra? And make sure you answer the 3 questions. Okay, so if you've watched the video, you should be able to say the 4 basic operations of math are going to be add, subtract, multiply, and divide. The operation that's implied in algebra is multiplication. So if we have 3 bracket 2, the operation that's implied in here is times. It's 3 times 2. One way we can see algebra is we can see algebra in graphs. Okay, so we can actually see add, subtract, times, divide on graphs. Okay, so algebra into words. How can I make these expressions, make these words into expressions? So if I have a number y divided by 3, well, I could show this as y divided by 3. A number n minus y, well, that's going to be our n minus y as an expression. And again, notice these are expressions because these y's and variables here can take on many different values. The quotient of a number r and 33. Quotient means to divide, so we're going to take the r and divide by 33. A number decreased, well, decrease means subtraction. A number decreased by 7, well, I'm going to let that number be x minus 7. You can use any variable you want though. So if we have more than one operation, we have to be mindful of BEDMAS. So sometimes we need to be able to put brackets in this if we need to. So a product of a number n, 4 and a number n, is 4n minus 7. Okay, in the order that it happened, the product first, minus second. Okay, we don't need brackets because BEDMAS will naturally do the times before subtraction. So the sum of number x and 4 is going to be x plus 4. And then we're going to multiply this all by 3. So if I just do times 3, there's a bit of a problem because it will do the times before the add. And really the statement says we want to do the add before the times. So in order to do that, we need to make sure we group this with brackets, and then we can multiply by 3. And that ensures the order is going to be add first, multiply second. Okay, so here's another one. 2 less than the sum of a number x and 25. So I'm going to do my x plus 25 first, and I'm going to subtract 2. Now, do I need the brackets? No, I don't need the brackets. However, it does tell me that the grouping of this allows me to see how I can organize my calculations. And again, it's really important that we start getting these habits of organizing our work. So these ones here, the expression to the phrase, well, we have 3 times a number call that number D, minus or less 7. Here we can say divide, we can say quotient, but we can take the number Z divided by 8 less 4 or minus 4. Okay? So this part here, substituting for a variable, what we can do is we can let a variable, so these are expressions here, so this is an algebraic expression. So the x can take on a variable value, so lots of different x values. And what we can do is we can let x be certain numbers and then do the calculation. So for example here, 3x minus 2, that x can take on a value of 2. Okay, oops, let's make that like that. And we can let the x be 2, and then we can do the calculation. 3 times 2 is 6, minus 2 is 4. We can let that x value take on other values as well. Okay, so I can let that x be equal to a different value, negative 5. So plugging in negative 5, I can do 3 times negative 5 is negative 17. Sorry, negative 15 minus 2 gives us negative 17. So we can do algebraic substitutions for these variables. If we have an expression, we can let those expressions take on different values of x. So we'll do a couple more here. So we have 5x minus 6. So my expression is 5x minus 6. I can let that x value take on a value of negative 3. My calculation ends up being 5 times negative 3 minus 6. End up with negative 21. I can take that exact same expression and do a different substitution. I can substitute in x equals negative 10. So this becomes negative 50 minus 6, or negative 56. Okay, we have squared values here. So I can do my squared first and then add. Let my x take on different values. So x equals 3. 3 squared plus 4 is 13. X can take on a value of negative 12. So I can do 3. So x squared plus 4. X takes on a value of negative 12. Negative 12 squared is 144. Positive 144 plus 4 is going to be 148. Here we end up with negative 2 times x minus 8. So negative 2 times x minus 8. I can let my x value take on a value of 4 and then evaluate it. So negative 8 minus 8 is negative 16. Okay. If I let the x take on a value of negative 4, I end up with positive 8 minus 8, and that gives me a calculation value of 0. Okay, so working on this one here, we can do our substitution here. We can set it up this way. So negative 2 bracket squared plus 9. Now remember, we have to follow BEDMAS here. And again, notice how we're keeping things organized, and that's very important. That's one of the big things that we want to make sure that we're doing, is keeping things organized. Okay, so we're going to let x take on a value of 5. So we're going to do the squared first. We get 25 times negative 2 is negative 50. Plus 9 gives us negative 41. Let x take on a value of negative 7. Well, since the negative is inside the brackets, we're going to do negative 7 times negative 7, which is positive 49, times 2 is negative 98, plus 9 is negative 89. Okay, so there's my expression when I evaluate for those two different values.